The European Union is 27 countries sharing power, borders, and one enormous economic system. The European Union is a political and economic partnership linking 27 European countries. Together, they represent roughly 450 million people and one of the world's largest markets. But the Union is not a single country, and it does not replace every national government. Its power comes from countries choosing to solve certain problems together. That choice began after Europe was devastated by war. So why would former rivals surrender part of their independence? The answer starts with a dangerous idea that once seemed impossible. That dangerous idea emerged from Europe's deepest crisis. After 2 world wars, European leaders faced a continent divided by destroyed cities, rival armies, and deep suspicion. In 1950, French Minister Robert Schuman proposed placing French and West German coal and steel under shared control. Those industries powered weapons, so cooperation would make another war harder to prepare. 6 countries signed the Treaty of Rome in 1957, creating the European Economic Community. The plan was practical, not sentimental. Make countries economically dependent on one another. But shared prosperity also created a new question. Who would make the rules? That question still creates the Union's central tension. Countries want the benefits of cooperation without losing control. Brussels can set common standards, but national governments control many taxes, schools, hospitals, and foreign policy decisions. The EU can pass laws in agreed areas, yet it cannot simply govern Europe like a single capital. This makes the system slower than a nation state, but often broader than any one country could manage alone. The trade-off becomes clearest at the border, where ordinary shoppers experience the Union's power without seeing its machinery. The next detail reveals why this invisible power matters everywhere. That hidden machinery becomes visible through one defining achievement. The EU's most visible achievement is the single market. Goods, services, people, and capital can move across member states under common rules, giving companies access to hundreds of millions of customers. A phone designed in one country can be financed in another, assembled in a third, and sold across the bloc. The euro adds another layer, now used by 20 EU countries, though not every member has adopted it. This is why the Union matters in daily life. But the biggest advantage may be something many citizens barely notice. That hidden advantage is bargaining power. A single European country may struggle to influence global technology companies, energy suppliers, or powerful trading partners. The Union can negotiate as a bloc, setting standards that businesses often follow across the world. Europe's privacy rules, for example, helped make data protection a global business concern. Its climate, competition, and consumer rules can travel far beyond EU territory. Yet collective power creates a cost. When 27 governments disagree, every compromise becomes visible, and one event proved just how fragile the project could look. The warning became unmistakable when Britain chose the exit. In 2016, the United Kingdom voted to leave the EU, and Brexit became real on January 31st, 2020. The departure showed the Union is not irreversible. It also exposed the practical cost of separating from a deeply integrated market, especially around trade, borders, and Northern Ireland. The emotional lesson was even sharper. European identity can strengthen cooperation, but it cannot erase national identity. The EU survived Brexit, yet survival is not the same as certainty. Its future depends on whether shared problems become bigger than old division. So what does the EU actually do for an ordinary person? It can make cross-border travel easier through Schengen, although Schengen includes some non-EU countries and not every EU member uses it fully. It supports regional development, funds research, coordinates shared policies, and protects consumer rights. An EU citizen may study, work, or retire in another member country under broad freedom of movement rules. These benefits are not magic, and they are not identical everywhere, but they reveal the Union's basic method: turn separate national decisions into shared systems. The EU is also a political machine with several centers of power. The European Commission proposes and enforces laws. The European Parliament, elected by citizens, debates and approves legislation with national governments. The European Council sets broad direction through national leaders. This structure can feel confusing because it deliberately spreads authority. That complexity protects national influence, but it also makes accountability harder to see. When a rule helps or frustrates people, blaming Brussels may be simple, even when national leaders helped create it. The hardest challenges now cross borders by definition. Energy prices, migration, cyber attacks, climate change, and security do not stop at national checkpoints. Acting together can increase Europe's leverage, but agreement takes time, money, and political trust. That is the Union's permanent bargain. Less freedom to act completely alone in exchange for more ability to shape events together. The choice is never simply Europe versus the EU. It is whether European countries face shared pressure separately or build enough unity to negotiate from strength. But that answer reveals a tension the Union can never completely escape. The clearest way to remember the Europe Union is this. It is not a country, but it is far more than a trade deal. It is a continuing experiment in turning historic rivals into partners with shared rules, shared markets, and shared leverage. Its achievements are real, its frustrations are real, and its future remains contested. That tension is exactly why the EU matters. Europe is strongest when cooperation solves problems people cannot solve alone. Yet democratic choice keeps deciding how far cooperation should go. To understand why the EU keeps expanding, look back to its origin. After 2 world wars, European governments wanted to make another conflict between major neighbors harder to start. They began by linking coal and steel production, the industries that had powered war. Over time, that narrow agreement grew into a wider community, and countries seeking membership had to meet rules on democracy, courts, and economic standards. This turned enlargement into more than a map-changing exercise. It became a way to encourage reforms in countries emerging from dictatorship or conflict. But expansion also creates tension because more members mean different histories, incomes, and expectations. The EU's future therefore depends not only on adding countries, but on keeping a shared political direction while respecting national identity. Its story is less about erasing borders than about making cooperation stronger than rivalry. That original bargain remains one of Europe's most consequential experiments in modern political history. Next, discover how the European Union actually makes a law from proposal to final vote. Subscribe for the next explanation.